Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Doug has finished playing through Demon's Souls, the PS5 game.
I have. Did not expect
And
to.
yeah, because you texted me a couple of times, like in the past couple of days, like, I'm not going to finish this. I can't finish this. This is too much. I can't do it.
No, it is the hardest Souls game I've ever played. And like people like it's easy because you can cheese it in certain ways. It's like, okay, but if you're just playing it normally without knowing whatever cool cheese way to cheese it, it's just like really effing hard.
Come on, Doug, kind of cheat. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I am very much not interested in Souls games.
That's
I
fine.
think they are the coolest looking things and great ideas, but just I'm the asshole going, I'd play that if there was an easy mode, and all of you who actually like these games hate me. And that's my impression of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, all that stuff. But I know you're super into these. Bloodborne's one of your favorites. So like, how does this stack up?
I think so the ones I've completed, I've beaten Bloodborne, I've beaten Dark Souls 3, gotten mostly through Dark Souls 1. That's the one I actually want to go back. After I beat this, I was like, oh, I want to go back to Dark Souls 1. Got to the final boss of Sekiro and just hated it.
Yeah.
I think it stacks up. I think it's my second favorite. Like Bloodborne is like clearly my favorite. It'd be a hard one to take down. But this one, it's probably the most surprising Souls game I've played. Like I kind of went in. It's the one I didn't know. I knew the least about, and I just heard it was kind of like it was the first of the series, so that can. I mean, if you go back and play something like PS2 remasters, it's like, oh, there's a lot of PS2 jank in this sort of thing. So I didn't know what like Dark Souls jank looked like. But what was kind of funny, it's like it's actually it's super unique in the Souls series because from afar I'd always heard it's like, oh, there's fans of Demon Souls and fans of Dark Souls. Like, how could you say that? Because Dark Souls is just clearly going to be the better version. But Demon Souls was kind of like a prototype of so many cool ideas. It's kind of like this is not the right way to put it, but kind of like a Suda 51 game in which it feels like kind of a mess sometimes, but there's always like these super high highs and like really low lows. So it's kind of like a first draft Souls game, and that's kind of like my impression was throughout the entire thing. It's like, oh, there's stuff you saw that they clearly fixed for future Soul games, but there's a lot of ideas that Demon Souls had that they just never went back to, but were really cool, unique, weird ideas.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think I really I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I played a little bit of Demon Souls on PS3 and actually quit and like stopped playing it because I like hated it. I was not having a fun time.
That was going to be my next question. So you've played the first one, so, and I guess I don't know if you didn't play too much of it. How much did Blue Point like actually go through and like sand down those rough edges, or is it
exactly 0? No, that's not true. Like, it's funny, but like it's funny because there's like the quality of life improvements that like Blue Point made were like not minor, like very minor things. Like you can set an item to the storage, like that was their quality of life, which actually was like a huge thing. Yeah, I know, but it sounds really minor, but like though the rough edges are still there. I will say the one thing though, I think the animations and the graphics and things I think the animations especially that they added to the game really gives the game more of a heft than the original Demon Souls had. I think in Dark Souls and Bloodborne, there's definitely like a heft to it, and like hitting things in Bloodborne feels really good. And I remember in Demon Souls, hitting things felt like obviously not as good, but in this one, like just hitting things just feels so good every time. So just like to me, that was like the biggest improvement is like hitting things feels real good. But yeah, I would say the edges have not been sanded down. The biggest thing though would be the load times. The load times made this probably the most enjoyable Souls game I've played.
I can believe that because I bought Bloodborne at launch, and that was literally what made me turn it off. The first of the 3 times I tried to play it was I died so much, and you had to wait like 2 minutes for that damn thing to come back in. So I've been playing Miles, and the load times are basically non-existent. Is that what it is with this when you die?
Yeah. This one, kind of one of the things, like definitely not trying not to go off a tangent like I tend to do, but. This I found now with PS5 games, there's no load times. It's a hard time to find like a stopping point because when I was playing Demon Souls before, I just get like frustrated and like I'm sitting at like a 2-minute loading screen, like F this game. It's a good game, just like shut off. There's a good stopping point in Souls when you are like screw this. I accidentally, because I had left my phone in another room and I knew I'd been playing late into the night, I accidentally played this game for like 6 or 7 hours straight. Like I woke. I noticed that there was cars outside. I was like, why are there cars outside? It's like 2 a.m. And I checked. Then like I finally got my phone. It was like 6 a.m. or something like that, which I have not done for a very long time.
That's like high school level video games right there.
Oh, I know. I felt like shit the next day. Don't do this when you're 30. But no, like it's you don't have as much time to sit there and stew in your anger.
Okay.
At a loading screen.
Does it make it feel more like Trials then? Because like that's the thing with Trials is like it pisses me the hell off, but because it's like boom back, boom back, boom back, you don't get that moment of like anger because you're just right back in it.
See, I know because I feel like the answer to this, I was like, oh yes, no, it feels just like Trials. You're like, and I know that would kind of pique your interest. No, this is definitely still a Souls game still. Like it just has good loading time.
You still have to run like 40 minutes back to this point where you died.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because I haven't really talked about the gameplay and that sort of thing, but I think one of the big things with Dark Souls in general is the checkpoint system, which is like the bonfires.
Yeah.
So in Dark Souls, they would give you a bonfire like as you're going through a level, like you went through some really hard sections and they would give you a bonfire and they're like, there's nothing better than like, oh, getting a bonfire. In Demon Souls, because this is proto Dark Souls, you didn't get to a bonfire until you beat a boss. So you'd have to run from one bonfire, go through tons of enemies, like tons, like in Dark Souls, like I was like, sometimes the runs in Dark Souls to get back to the boss were like pretty long. In Demon Souls, they're insane. Like it could be a good 20, like maybe 10, 15 minutes of you fighting through to get to the boss, only to die and then come back. Yeah, I know exactly. This is Souls though.
Yeah, no, that's my limit on it is no, don't make me.
Yeah, it's interesting because the checkpoints here I think are like just absolutely brutal, and that's like the one thing I didn't like about the game, and that was actually the source of my frustration was more just the checkpoint placement.
Yeah. Because
here, and they fixed that in other Dark Souls games. Like, it felt like this was the one idea that Demon Souls that was bad. That they fixed. I do want to talk a little bit about the game itself, though, because it's good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the game is really cool. So Dark Souls is like an open world, but Demon Souls is not. Demon Souls actually is a hub world that you go, you have a hub world called the Nexus, which is very cool, and that's where you have like there's maybe a handful of people hanging out in the Nexus, and there are five different levels that you can go to. So there's 5 worlds you can go to. In each of those 5 worlds, there are a number of levels. So if you like read guides and stuff, they'll talk about like 5-1, which is like the first level in World 5, or 5-2, which is the second. Yeah, it's exactly like Mario. But the thing that's like really cool about it, and actually I kind of enjoyed it more than Dark Souls open world system, because the game is basically, it's designed for you instead of just like, okay, I am going to do just World 1. There's kind of these interesting sort of stopping points that you'll run into. And it's not like a door. It might be a boss. It's usually a boss. Where you're just like, I'm doing something wrong, or this level is just way, way, way too hard. I'm going to go somewhere else. So you can just go to a different world. And what you kind of find out as you go along, as you get deeper in different worlds, is if I got stuck in, say, the first world, maybe the solution to the thing I got stuck in is actually in the third world. So I play in the third world, and I'll pick up an item and go, and like I'll read the description and go, oh my god, this is the item I need to get past that boss in World 1.
How blunt is it about that?
Not at all.
So it's like you could just be wandering around, like randomly pick up like this sword, blah 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 blah, and you're supposed to in your mind go, oh, the boss in World 1 said that I needed a blah 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 blah. Like not even that blunt, or like more obtuse than that.
It's like I'll give you a really basic kind of non-spoiler example. You get a shield that helps you with fire stuff, and you just know that by checking the stats. It's like, oh shit, this actually has really good fire defense. It's like, oh, you know that dragon that was breathing fire on me, I'll bet this helps in that area.
Oh, okay. So like, I guess if it's that straightforward, that's not as bad. I thought you were just saying okay.
It feels more straightforward than I've played in Dark Souls. Has some similar stuff to that I found super obtuse that like didn't make sense to me at all. There's like one specific thing in Dark Souls that I was like, I could not figure out. I just had to Google it. I will say Demon Souls, I probably looked more at a strategy guide than I have in any other game I have in like decades. But no, it's really cool. So you can kind of see the intricacies as they're playing off one another. And So like there might be a boss, like one of the other ones I thought was kind of cool. Like there's a boss in one world, and like I kept running out of magic power, but there's actually this other place I can farm magic stuff like pretty easily. So it's like, oh, I'll go here to this world, farm up some stuff there, and then go and fight the boss using my magic powers here. The one thing that I really, really love about the game is those 5 worlds. They're all kind of bait and switches with what their first level is. Like the first level that you go to in Boletario, which is kind of like a castle European thing, but by the end of that world, you're doing some like really weird stuff. This is not a spoiler, but I'll spoil the first boss. When you're in World 1, it's just kind of like a normal European castle. And the final boss in that first level is this massive blob of goo that has a bunch of shields surrounding it because it's sort of like sucked up like all these like I guess just shields and weapons and that sort of thing. So this massive ball of goo with all these shields around it. It just shoots out these giant spears at you. And you're like, what the fuck is this game? Like that doesn't like you showed me a European medieval fantasy world, and now you have this giant black goo with things shooting at you. So like every world is like that, where it's like the most interesting thing about the swamp world is like when you go to the one world, it's like, oh, this is like the swamp world. It's like, oh, poison swamp world sort of thing. It's like, okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
But the most interesting things from that level have nothing to do with the poison swamp. That like you wouldn't the things that they're interesting about that is like because it's not necessarily a poison swamp by the end. So like as you're going through these levels, you're seeing like brand new enemies, whole new different like basically recontextualizing the world that you thought you were in. So like the deeper and deeper and deeper you get into the game, the stranger and weirder it becomes. I think kind of like one of the funnier examples. And like so what you're trying to what I was finding out was I was trying to figure out like what are the limits of this like lore and world. Is this a medieval fantasy game? No, it keeps showing me these different things, and then suddenly it's a horror game for a bit, and then suddenly it's now like a Japanese fantasy game, and suddenly now it's more like Final Fantasy. It's these because of the context of the like Bloodborne to me is like a single note.
Yeah.
I think it has like one sort of cool twist, but Dark Demon Souls, I kept feeling like a twisting back and forth and back and forth. And I honestly wonder if it's because it's just kind of a mess of development, from what I understand. So there's just all these different sort of patchworks of different ideas.
Do they actually go together though, or does it feel like really jarring when you switch from one to the other? Like, is there like a good through progression where like, okay, like I can follow the logical path that this is taking to get me to weird giant goo monster and shields, or is it just like out of nowhere, like, oh, that's a weird thing that just happened?
Oh, that's a good question. Depends. I think sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's like I can see the build to this. I was sort of thing. Like I think like especially I think there's certain worlds you can definitely see the build to, but there's sometimes like something just comes totally out of left field. Like I don't know, just like giant slug monsters all of a sudden. It's like, what the fuck is a slug doing this? Like just a giant slug doing this game or something like that. So to me, I think there's a sort of roughness about Demon Souls that I really liked because the world is poorly defined compared to the other Souls games. So so as you're going through each of these levels, like you're just seeing something brand new all the time. It was probably the most like surprising of the Souls games I've played, because I really didn't know what was going to happen in the next level. Like I was so excited to get to a new world. I was like, no idea what's going to happen now, because what I just played before that like is not going to give me any indication what's going to happen next, sort of thing. Especially some of the finales of those worlds are just like totally just absolutely bonkers and crazy and cool and pretty and just very, very fun, weird ideas. One of the things I didn't really talk about is like the mechanics, but it's this idea of like, hey, you think you understand what's going on, like the worlds or something, those change. Some of the mechanical stuff, like what's happening in the hub world, changes a lot. Like sometimes when you meet certain characters, you just think it's some side character, but oh no, they're actually super critical to the story, and now they're in your hub world, or something in the hub world is changing that like totally unexpected. It feels like you didn't trigger anything, and then something happened in the hub world, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Why is this guy here? Who is he? He seems suspicious, and it's like he's lying to me or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on. But it just feels like there's just a lot of surprising twists and turns that just like throughout the game, just as far as mechanics, as far as story, as far as the worlds and all that other stuff.
So your hub world like evolves as you go through. So like you beat boss in fight or in Swamp World boss does da 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 da. Now blank happens in hub world.
Yeah, kind of, but it feels a lot less fluid than like it feels a lot less defined than that. So like one of the things you do is like you'll find characters in the world and kind of bring them back to your hub world. But not all the NPCs are good, and you're not really sure who's good and who's not.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it feels like everybody's lying to you all the time because sometimes they are. um, so it's cool. So for example, there's a guy who was locked in a cage, and he's like, "Help me out, young sir," sort of like very mysterious and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure. And I found him in a prison, so I'm like, I don't know if I should even let this guy out. But I let him out, and he turns out, oh, this is the guy who actually helps me get my magical powers up. Like he now comes back to the Nexus, and he's the guy who gives me magic powers. And he still seems suspicious as fuck. Like, like I beat the game, and like I still don't trust that guy. And it's so it's cool. It's like you keep coming back to your hub world, so there'll be like new characters in there, or there'll be like character interactions that are changing, or as you're talking to different characters, like they'll be saying different things because I met, or I beat this boss in Swamp World, and then maybe this other character, because you know that Swamp World creature is connected to this character, they'll have something interesting to say next time you go back. It's so cool, and like the Nexus stuff, I think especially some of the stuff that I think one of the other surprising things of the game is that it feels. Some of the mechanics I feel like sacrilegious, like stuff like you should not be doing in a game, but they do it anyway. So, like certain
I want you to expand on that, but I don't know if that is that spoilery.
It's kind of spoilers, but like, yeah, there's just certain things that you're like, you're not like, there's a certain safeness you have in your head about like different mechanics in games.
Like video game logic, like logically,
Yes.
I know in a video game this is going to happen when I do blank, and this it's like, haha, gotcha.
Exactly. It's got a lot of fun gotchas.
Cool.
None of them feel like, some of them feel unfair, but you can always recover for them. But there's so much fun gotcha stuff that kind of plays on you knowing about video games, and this game not doing that. It's a very good game. Would not recommend this as your first Souls game though at all.
Does this all come together, like from beginning to end? There's so much weird stuff going on, and you referenced like Suda51 earlier, and I think a lot of his games like have all this batshit craziness to them, but there always is that really solid through line in the middle. Does this have that, or is it just kind of like haphazard, 100 different things going on at once, and you're just like, what the hell, and now it's done?
No, it's super cool actually. I think it has the most straightforward plot I'd say of any Souls game I've played. There's one sort of like each of those 5 worlds have their one sort of kind of loose plot associated with them, but there is like one very clear plot that you're trying to go through, and anything that's kind of weird or kind of strange kind of hangs off that, but like you still have that like one goal in mind. It's not even a goal. I'm gonna say like King Allant is this bad guy who came and fucked up the planet, and you're like, your job is to go and like basically take care of him.
Simple enough.
And yeah, it's very simple. Like it's a very simple through line to get to that. And anything that's sort of weird, like even if you don't understand it, like you still have that one pillar, I'd say, of like trying to take down King Allant. And it's as long as you have that one pillar, it feels a lot less obscure than I'd say like Bloodborne and even Dark Souls games. Like I feel like I've sometimes come to the end of a Souls game and gone like, oh, I didn't expect that to be the ending. But in this one, like I felt the plot like really escalate on those last few worlds, and like the finale was amazing. The finale is incredible. It's so good, and like I felt like I fully understood what was going on, which is nice. But yeah, I'd say the story is probably the most straightforward one, which I enjoyed. I liked that it was more straightforward than other Souls games.
Nice. You said you quickly threw it out that you would not recommend this for your first Souls game. This is a launch game for the PS5 and probably like the first or second biggest deal. Does it feel like a good launch game? Like, is this like, does it make sense if I'm buying a PS5 that I go out and buy Demon Souls? Is that what I should do?
No, it's weird as a launch game. I think it's a good game to show off the power of the PS5. The sound design is effing insane. It's the most insane sound I've ever heard in a game. I think it's cool to show off the PS5. I think it's like it's hard for people who have played Souls games, so it's like it's weird as a launch game. I think like probably Ratchet was supposed to be a launch game or something like that. Like it would make more sense.
Something got pushed and we swap or something.
Yeah, exactly. So like I would say is it a good launch game? I mean, I enjoyed it. I think there's gonna be a lot of returned copies of Demon Souls because it's the hardest one I've played for sure. Because it's not janky, but it just, a lot of the other Dark Souls games did things to make it easier and less frustrating, and this one just it has better load times, so that helped a lot though.
I guess last question I have: DualSense controller is cool and I like it. Does it do cool DualSense things?
Kinda. This is actually more. It feels good. It feels good. It does do some cool stuff. This to me is like a Tempest audio showcase, though.
Okay, so the audio part's the bigger.
The audio part is effing insane. It is. It is. It feels like the thing they were selling. It's like, oh, you can hear enemies behind you and off to the left and to the right and sort of thing.
That's
You
cool.
absolutely can do that. You can feel it. You can hear it. It's nuts.
Nice. I'm sure with the tension that these games have, that definitely adds to the necessity and coolness of that.
Yeah, no, it's the best sound design of any game I've ever heard. Easy. Like, it's just very easy to say that.
Nice. All right. Well, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.